I hear you on the crimes against humanity of apartheid, and I hear your argument for crimes against humanity by sanctions in Zimbabwe. The first thing is, if Zimbabweans want Black South Africans to understand, then to what you're saying about the AU, all African countries need to all agree that if we're going to say you can't be illegal on the African continent, let's make it continental. I, as a Black South African, should not be illegal in Botswana, in Zimbabwe, in the DRC. Now, it can't be that I must be understanding of illegals here, but then when I go to other countries, I'm then illegal. Because then it means you're being convenient. That's my first counter. My second counter is, as much as Abo Krisani were arrested, which I'm glad you raised that example. You as Zimbabweans need to explain to us as South Africans, and in particular Black South Africans, because that's where the bulk of the clash is. And you're right. We ignore the white foreigners and the colonizers, and we fight each other as brothers. You guys need to sell us your story and make us understand. You can't force yourself onto us and just expect us to understand. It's not fair. Because if we force ourselves onto you, it's going to cause a conflict. Similar. And on top of that, if you speak to us, be willing to listen to us. Because this is what happened with apartheid as well. Black South Africans would go into exile and they would be told, you will be based here. We can't go there and come dictate. No, we're going to be based here and we're going to do this.
But
those are the issues. And that's also what causes the frustration with an ANC and a ZANU. But guys, you're seeing me fighting with my brother. We've actually got a shared history. You're seeing us fight, and you guys are not coming to a table and sitting and being like, let me explain to my people, guys, look, these people actually helped us in the past. Can we maybe please accommodate it? You guys are keeping quiet. And then we're fighting with each other and we look like we're crazy.
But this is the question that I asked when we had the discussion with Ike, where Ike claimed that ANC and MK people were living in camps in Zimbabwe. And I asked him, which camps were they living in? Name the camps. He couldn't. When I asked him, why did Joe Mugabe get killed by a bomb in a suburb called Ashton Park? Why was he was shot. Why was he shot by apartheid agents in a suburb in Harare? And why was the ANC? And then he said, no, the ANC were chased out of Zimbabwe. Then I said, okay, if the ANC were chased out of Zimbabwe, how come the ANC headquarters in Zimbabwe was bombed in 1987? We proved that Ike didn't know what he was talking about. And like you're saying, the problem with our leaders is the ANC have not told us the full truth.
But are you disputing that Black South Africans that left weren't told you must be based here? Are you disputing that? Are you saying Black South Africans could be anywhere they want, trade as much as they want, set up businesses freely?
Correct.
That's your argument.
That's why I've always said that.
No, I'm saying, is that your argument?
That is my argument, and I'll explain why.
That's why. But we can.
No. Hold on. But remember, we don't want opinions. We want facts.
No, I hear you. And I'm saying that's why we'll check the facts.
So that's why I've always.
And I need to raise this because, besides history, you may be proven right. You may be proven right, and I will apologize if you're right. Currently, if you want to win over Black South Africans, they will not currently agree to do whatever you want. They'll probably start with be based here and behave like this, and then maybe you can sell them an idea differently later.
But what I've always said to Black South Africans is it's all good for you to always want things to work your way. But when you wanted independence and your leaders came into our countries, they got their way from our government. You
can't say that to a 20-year-old.
Why not?
Because they weren't there.
No, that's the same as an apartheid, a person who's benefited from apartheid saying that.
I'm not defending them, Rutendo.
No,
I'm trying to explain that you're saying your father agreed to this, and you're like, oh, okay.
You're a beneficiary of it. I'm not just saying your father agreed. Yes.
You're 100% correct.
So what do you think?
And I'm saying when you try to convince them, this is what I'm trying to explain to you. Because you and I are sitting here, you and I are fine. Mm-hmm. I'd like to think in our lives. Mm-hmm. You and I are trying to do the work of the ANC and ZANU. I think this is actually what we're trying to do here. Mm-hmm. You're trying to explain the situation of your Zimbabwean people that are illegal in my country, as an example. And I'm trying to explain to you my issue with my people and what they're saying. So you can't tell me, but we both know history. I'm like, I hear you. I'm trying to explain the psychology because you need to help me to explain to the 20-year-old why what you're saying holds water. Mm-hmm. And if you can't convince me, I'm obviously not going to tell these people to understand. And I'm telling you now, the young people, yes, they're beneficiaries. Yes, sure. But I'm telling you, telling them something like that, but white people come. But we agreed at CODESA. I don't care what you agreed with Mandela at Kodesa. Yes, I may be a beneficiary of B, but I don't care. And I'm telling you now, I will not accept. And you can't tell me when ZANU and whatever they did back then agree. You can't tell a 20-year-old that. They can say yes, but I don't care. I'm telling you now, between me and you, because we're here. They did. I'm telling you now, sit with me and listen to what I'm saying.
But this is the problem. It's the society cannot make its own rules, and they cannot feel the way they want. Leadership must make rules. We were not given an option to say whether we cared about the ANC coming into our country and then us being bombed by the Boers. We didn't have a choice. Our government said, we are going to fight for this country, and we're going to suffer, and we're going to have our economy destabilized, and we're going to send our soldiers to go and fight. We're even going to run the risk of being bombed by nuclear weapons, but we're going to do it until South Africa gets independence. It's not open for debate. That's what our government did to us. And many people have flighted. There's this clip with Mugabe saying, we are not going to fight wars for South Africa. And I keep saying to South Africans, did you expect Mugabe to tell the strategy, his war strategy, and what he wanted to do to the Boers on TV?
Yeah, but that's not fair what you're doing. Because this is now propaganda.
Because he said what he said.
But now this is propaganda. You're defending him. You speak about evidence and facts. You're defending him without evidence and facts.
Let me answer.
Sure.
You can't say there's no evidence and facts, because Mugabe said that on TV while our soldiers were fighting the Boers. He said that on TV
we don't know
while
why they were fighting the Boers. It may not have been for South Africans.
No, we know why they were fighting the Boers.
No, but we don't know.
We do.
Mugabe never said it. You're speaking about leaders, right? You're the ones who's saying the argument is leaders make rules.
Yes.
And if leaders are saying that, you can't then come and spin and say, but in this instant, this is different.
No.
Because that's what you're doing now.
No leader.
We don't know if those
soldiers
were fighting
listen to me first.
Mugabe never said it.
Listen to me first.
Sure.
No leader is going to give his military strategy on television.
They shouldn't, correct.
That's obvious.
Sure.
So when you guys expected Mugabe to say, yes, we're going to back up the ANC, we're going to fight war, that's not how it's supposed to be done.
But if Mugabe said we'll fight for SA, you'd be saying, but Mugabe said...
But he did say it. And Thabo Mbeki did say it. Thabo Mbeki has got an entire speech where he's talking about the celebration of Mugabe because Mugabe backed South Africa's war.
So he said two contradictory things.
He didn't say two contradictory things. He said something and did something. There's a difference. Where you say words to put off your...
I'm not going to buy this.
No, you don't have to buy it. Sure. What we're talking is facts. Mugabe said something.
We can't say it's facts.
No, it's not a fact that Zimbabwe fought wars for South Africa.
We don't know if Mugabe said they weren't.
Why did Mugabe go to Mozambique?
No, I'm not...
Did Zimbabwe go to Mozambique to fight?
I just want to say this. So you said rules of engagement now, which is okay, of saying that leaders must make decisions, which is okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping that when you finish, I'll be like, if that's the case, then it must be correct to say it's the ANC that's at fault for why we have illegal foreigners here. If we're saying the leaders make the rules and not just...
Why should it be the ANC that's at fault?
Because you said the leaders set the rules.
Yes.
And if they are comfortable with illegal foreigners here, and black South Africans are not happy, then black South Africans must blame them. In the same way that you're saying ZANU PF told Zimbabweans, hey, we're going to help our neighbors. Mm-hmm. And you guys had no choice in the matter. Mm-hmm. So then if you guys ever had an issue with black South Africans, you should say, or South Africans, you should say ZANU said we must do this.
No, the thing is, we never had
the second thing with the government setting rules was going to be, if we're going to talk about facts and those things, which is okay, and when certain facts and evidence are brought up, then we spin it. It becomes difficult now.
Like how? Give an example.
An example is Mugabe saying we will not fight wars for South Africa.
Yes.
Right. Something he said.
Yes.
And it's
then written. What did he do?
And this is what people were countering. No, I'm not even arguing. I almost don't care. By the way, sorry.
Yeah.
My issue is when you want to say stats and facts, and then I'm like, oh, here's the stats and facts, and then you say no, but that's not what was happening. Then it almost doesn't matter what people say or what stats I find, because then the debate is going to be between who was doing what and for what reason.
No. It's a problem for you to use military propaganda as a fact. It's not a fact. The fact is what was happening on the ground. So I can tell you that we're not going to war while I'm deploying my soldiers to attack your side. I'm doing that to catch you by surprise. That is done all the time. No military general tells his plans on a national television that I'm going to fight.
I think that's an opinion.
It's not an opinion, it's a fact.
No, I'm saying my opinion.
Yeah.
Not a fact. What you're saying
then
is not a fact.
Then let's go and look at military.
That Mugabe said something that he didn't mean and he did something different.
Yeah, but
for me,
are
that's
you
how I
saying?
accept what
But
you're
that's why
saying.
I'm asking you the question. Are you saying Zimbabwe didn't go to war for South Africa because of supporting South Africa?
No, I don't know. And,
Right.
and,
So-
and in this context, I also don't care.
I know, and I care.
No
And,
problem.
and the reason why it's important for us to straighten this is that a nation doesn't go to war and deploy 12,000 of its own soldiers for fun.
Sure.
And it does not do that just because it is trying to be cute.
Sure.
Because it costs money.
Sure.
Zimbabwe had an option not to fight a war for South Africa's freedom
Sure.
by simply adhering to what the apartheid government had said.
Yeah.
Come, let's form the constellation of Southern African states. Don't worry about black people in South Africa. I recognize the Bantustans. Have a diplomat of yours in our country, and we will live like separate states and accept our separate development in our country. Mugabe refused that.
By the way, I love
SADC
Mugabe.
refused
I
that.
just need people to know I'm one of the people that largely, not fully, I don't support anyone fully. I'm one of the people that largely supported Mugabe. And the history of Zimbabwe is one of the most beautiful stories for people.
But
that are
if you don't know that Zimbabwe went to war for South Africa, then
That's
you
not what
don't.
I'm saying.
Then you don't know the
that's
history
not
of.
what I'm saying.
No, hold on.
No,
you
see, now
said
you're
you
putting
don't.
words in my
You
mouth.
said you
Pretend
don't
I'm
care.
trying to
You
support
said you
you,
don't know and you don't
But if you want
care.
to spin propaganda on me here,
I'm not
live,
spinning propaganda.
I can't support anything.
I don't
you're
want you
saying.
to support. I want you to know the history.
Yes, but
so you
you're
said you
claiming
didn't
that
know.
I said.
You said you didn't know that Zimbabwe went to
don't,
war
and
for
it's
South.
okay. But I
Very
wasn't
good.
picking a side.
So it's important for me to let you know that Zimbabwe fought wars.
And I said, in my personal opinion, the example you used to me is an opinion.
But we're not discussing opinion. We're discussing fact.
No, we're not.
So
discussing
is it a fact that
We're not
Zimbabwe?
discussing fact.
Is it a fact
We're
that
not
Zimbabwe
discussing
fought
fact.
a war for South Africa?
We're not
Yes
discussing
or no?
fact.
It is yes.
We're not discussing a fact.
Why not? Why shouldn't we discuss a fact?
It's not a fact just because you say it's a fact.
No, it's written. You can
What's
you
written?
can prove.
That
You can
Mugabe
prove.
said we're going to war for
You
South
can
Africa.
no. We went to war for South Africa. We didn't
I
say.
understand.
There's a difference between saying and doing.
I'm trying to let you speak and say your thing, and now when you make it about me, and it's not about
my
me.
my problem
it's
is
unnecessary.
we're here to set the record straight, and
No, I understand that.
you want to run away from an opportunity to get the record put straight to you.
I'm not going to agree.
You
to
want to
something
run. I don't
know.
want you to agree. I want you to
That's
know
okay.
the facts.
And you're allowed to say it.
That's right. So
don't
what?
expect me to
So
say
what?
yes.
What you should be doing?
Just let me keep quiet.
I'm not asking you to say yes. I'm asking you to let me say the facts. You don't want me to say the facts, and the question is, why wouldn't you want me to say the facts? Why do you want us to hide the fact that a war was fought to South Africa by other countries other than South Africa? Why do you resist to hear that? Then ask why the ANC has not created an impression or created the truth to make people understand why we are where we are. The ANC understands that when they went into other people's countries, they didn't have visas. They know that they were allowed into these countries. They know that other countries got attacked by the Boers for that. They know that these countries had to end up defending themselves because they would not chase the ANC out of their borders. And they got attacked by the Boers for that. Why is this fact being hidden? Why are we stopped from saying this on mainstream South African TV? And now I'm on an alternative media. I'm also feeling like I'm being muzzled from saying that fact. Why? Because that's what causes our differences. That's what causes our fights. Because our people seem to believe that no country helped South Africa to get its independence. Yet there are countries that lost over 600,000 lives in Southern Africa fighting wars against the Boers for independence and for harboring so-called illegal immigrants who came into the countries without papers, who came into the countries with firearms, and who came into the countries and established bases so that they could start attacking back in South Africa.
Are you willing to listen to the people of South Africa and their wishes and thoughts?
Yes,
Or
I am.
does it not matter?
I am willing to listen to the people of South Africa so long as their arguments are reasonable. So let me tell you what I mean by that. You have a lot of people here who you are also beginning to say in South Africa that 30% matric passes. People who know nothing. People who don't know what they studied at school. People who pass with 30%. They are not allowed to have an opinion on medicine. They're not allowed to have an opinion on accounting. They're not allowed to have an opinion on important matters, but for some reason it's okay for them to have an opinion on diplomatic relations or geopolitical affairs. I don't think that's fair because they don't know enough to argue, which is what we're trying to say here, that it cannot be that you can argue that there was no war for South Africa and Zimbabwe didn't fight for South Africa because I heard Mugabe saying it. But what are the facts? The facts must be put on the table. And those without the facts should listen to those with the facts. And those without the facts shouldn't have an opinion based on ignorance. That's what I believe. So
if a Black South African has an opinion that doesn't meet your criteria, you don't want to listen to them. Is what you're saying.
If a person does not have a reasonable argument,
forget the reasonable argument. It's a black South African. They live here.
Why should we forget the reasonable argument? Yet that is the
No,
test
I'm just
even in a court.
my question to you was do you care about the opinion of ordinary black South Africans?
I answered the question, but you don't care to listen to what I'm saying.
No, I heard your answer, and I'm saying
no. You didn't hear my answer. You didn't hear my answer. The test of a reasonable person is what is even used in court.
I'm not asking about court.
We cannot have a discussion and a debate and listen to people who are unreasonable.
So that's why I asked the second
so
question.
I will listen.
So you're saying if they don't meet your criteria, you don't care.
If they're not reasonable, I don't care. It's not my criteria. It is an established. It's an established common criteria.
The reason I say it has to be your criteria is because the 30%ers and even below, they get to vote in this country.
Yeah.
They can apply for tenders in this country.
That's right.
They can conduct business. So even in a court of law, their opinion matters.
No, in a court of law, they still have to give a reasonable argument.
No, I'm saying you mentioned 30%.
Yeah.
And ignorance and whatever.
Yes. That was an example, by the way.
No, that's okay.
I didn't say that's the qualifying.
And that's why I'm
criteria.
asking you. It seems like you have a criteria for black South Africans that you want to listen to.
I've got a criteria for any human being that wants to put an argument that I must listen to, that it must be a reasonable argument.
So the ordinary black South African...
And the person must know what they're talking about.
Sure.
Yeah.